Imagine walking into a place and being instantly judged by what you're wearing. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? But that's exactly what happened to Shaquille O'Neal, the basketball legend. Dressed in simple clothes, he was kicked out of a luxury car dealership in Los Angeles, treated as if he didn't belong. The reason? A mix of prejudice and arrogance that no one expected to see. But what's most impressive about this story isn't the disrespect Shaq faced. It's what he did next. Instead of giving in to anger or frustration, he turned the incident into something that would have a global impact, showing the world that true strength doesn't lie in what you own, but in what you do with the opportunities that come your way. Want to know how this unexpected experience turned into an inspiring lesson that moved millions? Then subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss stories like this one. The outcome of this one will move you in ways you never imagined. On a busy morning in Los Angeles, an imposing man dressed in simple clothes walked through the doors of one of the city's most luxurious car dealerships. Shaquille O'Neal, or simply Shaq, wasn't just a basketball legend. He was a force of nature, both on and off the court. But that day, he wasn't there as a star or celebrity. Wearing a loose t-shirt, a worn-out cap, and a pair of flip-flops, he looked like just another curious passerby. The sophisticated atmosphere of the dealership seemed to radiate exclusivity, but also something subtler, the implicit judgment carried in every glance from the staff. As Shaq began examining the displayed models, something in the employee's demeanor shifted. Whispers and quick glances spread across the room. A manager, impeccably dressed in a sharp suit, approached with a smile as sharp as a blade. "Can I help you?" he asked, in a tone that sounded more doubtful than helpful. There was something in his attitude that was unsettling, as if Shaq's mere presence, without luxury brands or obvious signs of wealth, was enough to question his right to be there. Shaq, however, wasn't one to be easily rattled. He observed the cars with the same calm he had when preparing for a decisive play in a game. Even so, the tension in the room was palpable. The manager's behavior, initially subtle, became increasingly blatant. A cutting remark about not wasting time with window shoppers echoed through the showroom. Despite the tranquility he exuded, Shaq knew this wasn't just disrespect. It was a reflection of something much bigger. It was a cruel portrait of the prejudice that still lingers in so many spaces. As the minutes passed, the manager's arrogance seemed to feed on Shaq's calm demeanor. He watched Shaq as though assessing someone beneath his standards. But there was something different in Shaq's gaze, a mix of patience and determination, as if he already knew the situation would end in a way no one there could predict. And so, as Shaq continued to stroll through the dealership, ignoring the judgmental glances and biting whispers, the story began to take shape. Every word spoken, every dismissive gesture was another step toward an outcome no one in the room could have imagined. As he walked through the dealership, Shaq stopped in front of one particular model, a vintage Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, a true symbol of elegance and history. He approached it carefully, as if standing before something almost sacred. His eyes analyzed every detail, from the immaculate finish to the gleam of the emblem shining under the showroom lights. For anyone else, it might have been just another luxury car. But for Shaq, this model meant much more. It embodied a dream, a larger project that he held close to his heart. Breaking the silence, Shaq asked about the car's price in his deep, composed tone. The manager, watching from afar, approached with a half smile, dripping with disbelief. "This one, it's for collectors, sir, something quite exclusive." The tone of condescension was unmistakable, but Shaq, maintaining his composure, explained the reason for his interest. He shared that the Silver Ghost symbolized something beyond status or power. For him, it was a piece of a greater plan, a project meant to inspire hope and unity in struggling communities. As Shaq spoke, his words carried a genuine weight, something rare in a place like that. He didn't want the car for show, but as a symbol of transformation, something that could connect people and tell a story of overcoming adversity. However sincere his explanation, the manager seemed blind to his intentions. All he could see was Shaq's simple attire, unable to grasp the magnitude behind his presence. The atmosphere, already tense, grew heavier with the manager's overt skepticism. The staff, who had paused to overhear parts of the conversation, exchanged glances. It was as if they were not only doubting Shaq's ability to buy the car, but also the value of his dream. Yet Shaq, unshaken, continued calmly explaining his project, exuding the confidence of someone who knew he was on the right side of history. Still, a shift was brewing. The manager, unwilling to hide his disdain, was about to deliver a response that would take the situation in an unexpected direction. Shaq's patience was about to be tested, and the meaning he sought would face a challenge. The tension in the showroom thickened as the manager, unable to mask his arrogance, made a remark that echoed like a challenge. "Maybe you should look for something more affordable. This car demands more than noble intentions." The disdain in his voice was unmistakable. For many, such a provocation would have triggered an explosive reaction. But Shaq was not like most people. With a calmness that would define the day, Shaq offered a faint smile before replying, "I understand, but sometimes appearances can be deceiving, can't they?" His simple, almost casual comment carried a profound weight. It was a response that revealed not only his intelligence, but also his ability to turn an insult into a lesson. However, the manager seemed more intent on escalating his hostility than learning from the moment. As other customers cast sidelong glances at the scene, Shaq remained composed, a giant in every sense of the word, yet never imposing his presence in an intimidating way. He spoke with a tone that blended serenity and authority, like someone who had faced far greater battles than a manager's rudeness. Every word he uttered seemed imbued with a greater purpose, as if he understood that this was more than just a disagreement over a car. Even so, the manager continued his climb up the ladder of disrespect. Sarcastic remarks and impatient gestures piled up, creating a situation in which anyone could have lost their temper. But Shaq chose a different path, the path of grace. He understood that true strength wasn't in retaliating against disrespect, but in rising above it, and that's exactly what he did. Still, a confrontation seemed inevitable. The manager's posture hinted that he was ready to cross a line that would escalate the situation from verbal sparring to something more intense. Shaq, for his part, remained calm but vigilant. Something about that moment suggested the story was about to take an unexpected turn, and everyone around could feel the tension building. The showroom, once filled with murmurs and discreet glances, had fallen into an almost uncomfortable silence. The manager, emboldened by his own arrogance, stepped forward, shattering any semblance of professionalism. "If you're not buying anything, you'd better leave. We're too busy for window shoppers." His hostile tone was like a spark in a barrel of gunpowder, the final straw for many. But Shaq, once again, held firm control over the situation. He lifted his gaze, steady as a rock, and locked eyes with the manager. Without raising his voice or changing his expression, he calmly replied, "I came here with a purpose, and no one is going to tell me where I do or don't belong." The statement, delivered with unshakable conviction, echoed through the room. But for the manager, it wasn't a cue to back down. Instead, fueled by wounded pride and prejudice, he made an impulsive move. He approached Shaq abruptly, as if trying to intimidate him. What happened next was a masterclass in composure and self-awareness. Shaq, with the agility that had made him famous on the court, sidestepped the manager's advance effortlessly. The scene, which could have easily devolved into chaos, unfolded as a moment of pure elegance. Shaq's physical power, so well known, was present, but he chose to wield it symbolically, to neutralize, not to confront. The onlookers' gazes shifted between shock and admiration. No one knew how it would end, but one thing was clear. Shaq was in control, not just of his actions, but of the entire narrative of that day. His calm under pressure seemed almost superhuman, a reminder that true strength lies in the ability to choose the higher road, even when the world insists on dragging you down. As the manager retreated, visibly flustered, the tension in the room began to ease, but the impact of the moment lingered in the air. Everyone knew that this episode was far from over. In fact, it felt like the pieces were just starting to align for something much bigger than a simple car purchase. What seemed like just another isolated incident at a car dealership took an unexpected turn when a discreet customer decided to record parts of the interaction. The video, capturing the manager's condescending attitude and Shaq's dignified composure, quickly made its way to social media. Within hours, the scene was everywhere, sparking heated discussions. Prejudice, often silent, was now exposed for the world to see. Reactions came from all directions. Some expressed shock, while others, sadly, recognized the scene as something all too familiar in their own lives. Shaq's calm and confident demeanor, in the face of disrespect, became a symbol of resilience. Comments, analyses, and even television debates began to surface. It was no longer just about a car or an arrogant manager. It was about how appearances-based judgments still dominate so many spaces. The impact was so significant that celebrities, activists, and public figures started sharing the video, amplifying its reach. Amid the whirlwind, Shaq remained composed. When questioned in interviews, he didn't use the platform to attack or humiliate, but to offer reflections. This isn't just about me. It's about how we choose to treat people. Every gesture, every word has the power to change lives, for better or worse. His words, as always, carried a deeper purpose. The video's virality sparked not just debates, but also concrete actions. Organizations began promoting awareness campaigns, and brands used the episode as an example of what not to do. The dealership involved tried to downplay the case, but it was too late. The whole world was watching, and the lesson Shaq had imparted, even unintentionally, became a milestone. However, what stood out the most was Shaq's attitude. Instead of focusing on the harm caused, he used the experience to amplify a message of inclusion and respect. While the world debated the incident, he was already thinking about how to turn the situation into something even more meaningful, something that could inspire real change. Days after the incident, Shaq made a decision that surprised everyone. Instead of insisting on buying the Rolls-Royce at the dealership where he was mistreated, he chose to visit another store, far humbler, located in a modest neighborhood. There, he was greeted with genuine respect, free of judgment. The warm reception was a stark contrast to the coldness and prejudice he had faced before. For the staff of that small establishment, Shaq wasn't just a celebrity. He was a person with a story and dreams, just like anyone else. It was there, far from the glitz and elitist environment, that Shaq finally purchased the car of his dreams. When announcing the purchase, he emphasized that his choice wasn't just about the vehicle itself, but about valuing those who provide honest and respectful service. The news quickly spread, generating waves of support and admiration. More than ever, Shaq showed that his actions spoke louder than words. He wasn't just rejecting prejudice, he was proving that respect and dignity should be the foundation of every interaction. Shaq's gesture took on even greater significance when he started being approached by business people and organizations from different sectors. Many wanted to learn from the example he had set, while others saw the episode as an opportunity to reflect on their own practices. It was as if, suddenly, the simple act of buying a car had ignited a much larger conversation about values, ethics, and humanity. Over time, that small act of resistance and conscious choice began to inspire movements across various areas. Companies started investing more in training their teams, while campaigns promoting inclusion and respect gained momentum. The impact of what happened in that luxury dealership transcended boundaries, showing that even the smallest actions can spark significant change. But Shaq had another plan in mind. He knew the impact of his decision couldn't end there. There was something more he wanted to do with that car, something that would leave an even greater legacy. And while people celebrated the positive impact of his actions, he was already quietly working on the next step. The acquisition of the Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost wasn't just a symbolic act for Shaq, but the beginning of a project he had been quietly planning. Shortly after purchasing the car, he announced that it would be fully restored, transformed into a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. But the restoration wasn't just about aesthetics. The purpose was greater: to use the vehicle as a tool to raise funds and make a difference in communities that needed support. The restoration process involved renowned craftsmen who treated the car as a work of art. Shaq made a point of visiting the workshop where the work was being done, sharing updates with fans and highlighting the importance of every step in the project. When the restoration was complete, the Silver Ghost wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of hope, ready to fulfill a transformative mission. Shaq then announced that the car would be auctioned, with all proceeds directed toward educational programs and community projects. The news quickly gained traction in the media, sparking a positive wave of interest. People from all over the world began following the auction, impressed by how he had turned a negative experience into something so powerful. For Shaq, this was the true meaning of his journey: to take what life throws at you, even when unfair, and give back to the world in a meaningful way. The auction was an overwhelming success, raising millions. With the money, Shaq invested in schools, sports programs for children, and initiatives aimed at marginalized communities. Every penny was directed toward causes that helped build a better future, especially for those often overlooked by society. And the most incredible part: Shaq made it a point to be present at many of the inaugurations and events, interacting directly with the people who would benefit. Shaq's final gesture reinforced what had already become clear to everyone following the story. Respect and kindness have the power to transform not just one life, but entire communities. He proved that even in the face of disrespect and prejudice, it's possible to find ways to do good and leave a legacy that inspires future generations. Shaquille O'Neal's story isn't just about prejudice or overcoming obstacles. It's about choices. He could have lashed out, fueling the cycle of disrespect, but he chose to use his influence to turn a bitter experience into something positive and inspiring. That decision impacted lives, sparked conversations, and showed the world that kindness and respect are the true forces of transformation. And what about you? Have you ever thought about how your choices can inspire and change lives around you? Perhaps a simple gesture of empathy is all it takes to brighten someone's day, or even the world. If this story touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss more incredible examples like this one. Share your thoughts in the comments. How would you have reacted in Shaq's place? We're eager to hear what you have to say.